welcome everybody, and finally we are here. It's playoff time, and welcome to the Frozen Oil Round 1 playoff preview show. So happy to have Terry with us and Rod, and in today's episode we are going to kind of preview Round 1 and break it down the way we see it and what we think are going to be X factors, some lines, and a few other things. So welcome all to the episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll take this opportunity really quick here since we are almost at 800 subscribers and we want to keep marching towards 1,000 here for the playoffs. To kindly ask to consider subscribing to the channel, and if not, just hit that thumbs up button. We'd greatly appreciate it. So it's war time, guys. It's time for war. Let's kind of start this episode off with letting kind of everybody know when the games are and what the times are for the games and so on and so forth. So let's switch on over to the schedule. So game 1 is obviously Monday, April 21st, 8 p.m. That's when we kick it off. We lost home ice advantage to the Kings, so we're starting off over there. Game 2 is Wednesday, 8 p.m. start as well. Game 3 is our first home game. It's going to be a Friday night. It's going to be a raucous crowd, I am assuming, here in Oil Country. Game 4 goes to Sunday, and then obviously to be determined for games 5, 6, and 7. So, boys, what are you feeling for round 1? Just in general, you know that we are considered underdogs by most NHL analysts, which, again, I've been saying this for the last few episodes. It's just blowing my mind that we are considered underdogs. So for round 1, we do have some odds that are coming in from probably, in my opinion, some more, how do you say, I don't know, man. When the money's on the line, I think these odds...
Objective view.
For sure. So overall, the Oilers are at plus 900. I don't know if you can see that on your end, guys.
Yep.
So the Oilers at the beginning of the year were favored number 1 to win the Stanley Cup, and obviously things have changed since then. Injuries are a huge factor this year in the Oilers and where they finished, but they're at plus 900 as far as the score goes. And we can head on down to the matchup between the Oilers and the Kings. Oilers are actually favored here.
Yeah.
So Oilers minus 130 versus the Kings. And they go on to say the Oilers limp into playoffs and draw a tough opening round series against the Kings. Although McDavid and company are favorites to advance, they'll have to win at least one game in Los Angeles. Edmonton has beaten LA in 3 straight opening rounds, but the Kings went 3-1 in the regular season series, and could be poised to pull off the upset. So that's what the odds say. We'll start off with you, Terry. Where do you think basically are the Oilers going to be at when it comes to this series, and what are your X factors here in getting through to round 2?
I think being a fan, near the end of the season, the Oilers had kind of just written off the regular season. Not to downplay how important the regular season is, but even as a fan, even at with what the Oilers did last year, the beginning of the season, a lot of the time you're excited to go into the next season. And me being a fan, I was just like, let's get this over with and let's get back to the playoffs. And I think a lot of the players had the same feeling. McDavid made some comments on it, and you can kind of see in what they're doing with the team right now with all the injuries. I think a lot of the injuries were kind of exaggerated. I think it's to get rest. And these guys are wanting to just do what they have to do to get in the playoffs and get going is what's, in their eyes, the more important part of the season right now.
Awesome. Rod?
As for X Factor, sorry, I forgot about that part. As for the X Factor in the game, for me, it's probably going to be Jeff Skinner. Does anybody know how well Jeff Skinner played in the playoffs in his career?
He's never played a game.
It's never played a game.
0-0 in the playoffs. The guy's played 15 plus seasons of high caliber hockey, and this is going to be his first NHL series. So I think it's going to be his X factor. A lot of people were writing him off at the beginning and middle of the season. I think he was even playing on the fourth line at one point, but I think he's found some chemistry with McDavid, which it shouldn't be hard to do. I think they're going to be starting him on the first line with him. So I think that depth scoring with Jeff Skinner and a lot of the other players is going to be the X factor in the series.
Nice. Rod?
I agree with everything that Terry said. I think players were being rested more than really injured. I think everyone's going to be ready to go game one. And I think after last year and how exhausted they were and how hurt they were just trying to get through the season and get ready to go in the playoffs. And I'm super excited, but I'm always nervous for the playoffs, man. It's a balance.
Oh, we know that. We know that. We call you Nervous Rod for a reason. But what do you think is going to be the biggest X factor?
I have a few different guys in mind, but honestly, it's the top pairing. If it's Bouchard and Nurse, can Nurse continue to play the way he's been playing all year, especially with Ekholm not being there now? And can Bouch play the way he played last playoffs? I mean, if he can, he's a number one defenseman. No turnovers, score on the power play, score those big goals. He scored how many overtimes last year and getting winning goals? So those two guys are my main X factors.
Cool. Well, for myself, it's obviously, as usual, goaltending. Kind of been mentioning that all year. Where's the goaltending going to be at? I feel myself personally that Calvin Pickard earned the starting role for game one, but I highly doubt that's going to play out. So we're probably going to see Stuart Skinner in net. And basically, if we get above average goaltending in this series, I think we'll come through on top. I agree there with you there, Terry, that, Jeff Skinner hasn't seen playoffs in his career. He's played over 1,000 games. That's going to be huge. And basically, another X factor of mine is the same as yours. Jeff Skinner, like Arvidsson coming in and producing like he was when he was with LA, and also Evander Kane. If he comes back healthy and if he's flying out there and banging bodies, he has been skating for 2 months. So I mean, if this guy's ready to rock and he comes through, that's going to be a massive boost. So basically, those guys that we got to produce in the playoffs, if they actually come through and produce, I think that's going to be gigantic. And the other thing for me is I want to see some consistency with the lines, which is going to be our next kind of topic here, which is what are the lines going to be. But for me, the constant rearranging and major rearranging, like not just one guy moves here or there, like all year it's just been a constant shuffle. I think that's the biggest thing that I don't agree with Knobloch. I mean, overall, I did take him in the simulation series as my coach, but like there needs to be some consistency to the lineups so they can get some chemistry together, especially with all these players returning and stuff like that. So don't want to see constant mixing and matching of lines that are moving 3 or 4 players around. It's too much, I feel, but those are kind of my X factors. So
especially in a 7-game series, right? Like you can't cause that much chaos and moving people around, players around.
100%.
And it's funny you touched on that, Rich, and I touched on this point a couple videos ago. The final stat here is when Oilers goaltending is 900 plus, 39-3. 39-3 with 900 plus goaltending, and 9-31, I think it was, with sub 900 save percentage in the goaltending. I mean, with those stats, the Oilers would have won 79 games or 70 games this season.
Yeah.
Right. So
honestly, you're right, Terry, because I saw at the beginning of the year, like, I thought the Oilers were gonna pull off like one of these 73-9 Golden State Warriors regular season records, right? Like, just dominate, right? But if we're all correct and our hunches are all correct, that they kind of just wanted to get through the season and get to the playoffs, and it doesn't matter where they land, they're just gonna turn it on. Hopefully that's what's happening. I mean, these guys aren't young, right? Like, Hyman's not young anymore, and Arvidsson is getting up there, and so is Jeff Skinner, and you know what I mean? Like, McDavid in his 10th year, Draisaitl in his 11th year, or you know what I mean? Like, we need to start producing some championships here, right? And these guys are here, they're not risking their bodies on the line. They're getting paid millions of dollars to just go in and barely try, right? Like, they're in the playoffs and they're trying their best. They're putting their bodies on the line. And I think, if hopefully what we're all thinking is right, I think we have as good a shot as any other team in the NHL. And there's so much parity in the NHL. I mean, if you take out a couple of teams out of those 16 teams, are you going to be shocked if one of those teams wins the Stanley Cup?
No, of course not.
Right? So much parity in the NHL, and like I said, just takes maybe a hot goalie and a hot offense or a hot power play, and you can go all the way. So let's switch on over to the lines, which are here on Twitter/X. We'll just throw a quick plug here. We are on Twitter X. You can follow us at Frozen Oil Hockey. We have our first look here at some projected lines here. This is from Jack Michaels, one of the legendary voices here for the Edmonton Oilers. And Jack goes on to say, projected lines for Oilers Game 1 at LA. This is purely a guess based on speculation by yours truly, but have at it for fun. So he has kind of dangled it out there for us to kind of talk about, so we're going to take that offering. Line 1, McDavid at center, Skinner and Brown flanking. Line 2, Draisaitl at center, Arvidsson and Podkolzin flanking. Line 3, RNH at center, which I love and been saying it all year. Third line centers, RNH, Hyman, and Kane or Frederick on that line. And my favorite fourth line, Henrique at center, Janmark, and Corey Perry. So, I mean, those are the lines from Jack Michaels. Pretty studded lineup there, guys. I mean, you can produce goals on any one of those lines, in my opinion.
Big time.
What do you guys think the lines are going to be?
I think it's somewhat accurate. I think might see a few minor changes. Hyman might move up to play on Draisaitl's line or McDavid's line, but I know McDavid and Brown have had some pretty good chemistry right now, and Brown has come along at the tail end of the season here. Kane, I would not be surprised if you see Kane move up to the first or second line, depending on the guy's gonna. You know how intense he is when it comes to the playoffs. So it's just gonna be if his intensity can match his physicality. Is he good to go physically for the playoffs? Because we're gonna need physical players. Like, the Kings are gonna come out hitting. So we're gonna need some physical players. And I wouldn't even, if Janmark is still injured, I know he was sick I wouldn't even be surprised if we put Max Jones in there because he's a physical presence somewhere down there as well.
And the Kings are tough, man. Like, they're big boys.
They are big guys.
They're a big body. They play a sound game. They play a trap game as well. You know, so I mean, these line combinations are important. Is there a specific, lineup you'd like to see, Terry?
Yeah, it's obviously it has to be the McDavid, Skinner, and Brown line. The Oilers have you have a typical matchup of a defensive, an elite defensive team versus an elite offensive team. So it's going to come down to the Oilers hockey wise for sure. McDavid and Draisaitl have, especially on the power play, have easily, scored against LA. Hyman, I think, if we can get what he did last year, I think Hyman had 7 goals against LA last year, and that was in a 5-game series or something else like that. So it's going to be an offense versus defense kind of series. It's going to be a hard-hitting series. LA is going to be physical. So I would like to see the chemistry between Skinner, McDavid, and Brown. And if they can produce, then that opens up the second line with Dry, Podkolzin, or Kane, whichever is going to be playing there, and Arvidsson or Hyman.
Cool. Awesome. What about you, Rod? What kind of lines would you like to see?
The lines Jack Michaels has are pretty good, but I like to switch Brown with Hyman. I like Hyman on the top line. He's produced 17 goals last playoff season. Podkolzin Kane. I like Podkolzin's start. Let's see how Kane does after a few games, and if he can get back to, the regular Kane, then you put him with Draisaitl. And if Janmark is injured or sick or whatever it is, instead of Jones, I'd have Kapanen. More speed, and he can kill penalties.
Nice. Well, for myself, again, I mean, these lines that he has up here, Jack Michaels, are great. I personally think that third line is going to be massive, and how you place it together. I personally love Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as the third line center.
Yes.
I mean, if they went with a third line, like it's kind of a two-way street here with this third line that Jack Michaels has. RNH, Hyman, and Kane or Frederick would be. I mean, it'd be tough to match up against that third line on any team in the NHL right now. Like, that is a third line that can definitely score on a consistent basis. And Hyman is known a little bit for his defensive awareness. So, I mean, RNH obviously has always been a defensive-minded forward. But for me, I would like to see, for that third line, I'd like for Frederick to be there. And I would like for Kane to be up, right? And maybe swap him with Podkolzin. I think a Podkolzin, RNH, Frederick line would be lethal. I'm not too sure if they actually want the right, the correct shots on the wings for how you shoot. But, the third line for me is massive. As far as the fourth line goes, I think they should keep Henrique, Brown, and Janmark together. They were phenomenal last year. They were huge in helping the Oilers get to Game 7, and I'd like to keep that fourth line. So, I mean, I don't see too
Perry?
Much. What's that?
Where do you play Perry, man?
Well, that's the thing is we're gonna have some movement as far as players coming in and out. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like we can sit out Perry, right?
No.
But for a game like this, does Perry go in on the third line, for example, and it's Perry, RNH, and Podkolzin, for example, like something like that? I would like to see. But we all know Dry's pretty happy with Podkolzin on the second line. I don't see, as far as like how big the LA Kings are, you are giving up a little bit of size when you go Draisaitl, Arvidsson, Podkolzin. You know what I'm saying?
Not a small dude, man. He's a big.
I know
guy.
He's not small, but I mean, he's not tall either, right? And neither is Arvidsson. I know they play like really hard. They play a hard game, and Arvidsson's known as Wolverine, right? So it goes back to the beginning again, like we said in the initial thing. Like, are these guys going to be the players they were that we brought them in for? If that happens, then I mean, I don't know. The biggest thing I see out of this whole lineup kind of analysis is the Oilers, to me, as far as the forwards go, we're a lot deeper than we were last year.
Less speed, but deeper.
Deeper, like experience-wise,
Yeah.
way deeper forward-wise, I think. But
you guys keep mentioning LA's physicality. I think the lineup of Kane, Frederick, and Perry, or Podkolzin, they cannot match up with our physicality. Kane is the biggest X factor. If he can come back and smash bodies on the boards, those who's the big defenseman there, other than Grabakov?
Grabakov and Doughty.
He's not a big guy, man. No, he's not a big guy. Yes, he's a battler. He's a stud defenseman. But Spence, Anderson, they're smaller guys, man. Like, when Podkolzin's coming down the ice, or Kane, or Frederick, or Perry, those guys are going to be thinking twice before they pass that puck or turn their backs to the boards.
Yeah,
I think we're more physical.
It's gonna be a war. It's gonna be a huge war.
Rod, those three players, I think those three players, there might be one more. Those are the only players on the Oilers that are 6'2" or bigger. Everyone else is 6'2" or shorter. Like, I was kind of looking at Dry 6'1", 6'1 and a half, I think he is. Podkolzin is over 6'2". I think Kane might be. Like, the Oilers are not big. The Oilers are the oldest team now, which is crazy to hear, because it felt like just like yesterday where we were the youngest team. But the Oilers are the oldest team in there, and LA is going to come out flying. I mean, they're going to come out hitting. So
I have a question.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Okay, Byfield 6'4", 6'5". Does he really intimidate anyone?
No, but I mean, it's not just physical. It's not just physical intimidation and stuff like that. It's okay. There's a shot coming from the point. Somebody that's 6'5" has that extra reach to get to a puck, where it's going to be tough for a guy like Arvidsson to get his stick in the way. Like, things like that are gonna, as far as like, guys, the Oilers are. This is the Oilers' time. They now have, they just came off a Game 7 loss. Prior to that, they lost to the Stanley Cup champions in Las Vegas. And prior to that, they lost to the Western Conference. They lost in the Western Conference final to the Colorado Avalanche, who ended up winning. So 3 years in a row, we've lost to the Stanley Cup champion team. And I just feel that mentally, the Oilers are way, way more experienced and ready to go all the way than any of those previous years. So, like I said, hopefully that happens. We do want to move on to the third point here, just because we want to try to keep these videos quicker. And the final question is, how do you feel this series is going to play out, with as far as like what games are going to be won and in how many games? Start with you, Terry.
It's going to be a hard series. It's not going to be a sweep. I don't think it's going to be a 5-game series. Just because of LA's record at home, I think they've lost like 6 games at home or something else like that. And the last game was Calgary, last night or whatever the heck it was, which is kind of a nothing game. So I think the Oilers are going to take it in 7. I think it's going to be a 7-game series. Oilers winning 7.
Any thoughts on those opening 2 games?
Yeah, ultimately, Rod, you touched on this before. Oilers need to split need to win one of the first 2 games in LA. That's going to be key. If they lose both, is the Oilers are dead in the water? Definitely not. But if the Oilers win, one out of the 2, they have a very, very, very good chance of taking the series for sure. Also, remember, guys, the Oilers last year, they were down 2-1, I think, to LA, and I think they were down 2-1, down 3-0 to LA last year, and then they ended up going back to win that game, and they won the series, right?
Even against Dallas, it was a 2-1 lead for Dallas. Against Florida, 3-0 lead for Florida. Like, the Oilers don't give up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, the
But
Oilers.
you're right. We have to win one of those 2 games.
The Oilers like coming back for some reason. They did it in the Florida series. They did it all throughout the playoffs. Hopefully this year, I think
they have to stress. They have to stress us out as much as possible as fans, as much as possible. Rod, how do you see this round 1 playing out?
Exactly what Terry said, man. It's going to be a hard-fought series. LA has lost 3 series to the Oilers in the last 3 years. They're pissed. They want to win. They want to make a point. So they're going to come hard, but I think we have the physicality to match their physicality. The goal scoring, we have McDavid and Draisaitl. You cannot bet against those 2 guys. Kemper scares me. Kemper does scare me. Honestly, he's the only one that scares me out of all the LA players.
Yeah, I think that's the only area that LA kind of, has hands down like a better goaltender than we do as far as one-on-one. But I do feel that our tandem, we're one of the only NHL teams that both our goalies went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Both our goalies got playing time on the road to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yep.
So they'll be locked in and engaged and supporting each other. I think that's going to be huge. What do I think is going to happen? I think moving on through this playoffs, I mean, we're not going to get too far ahead, but the Oilers got to come out of round 1. I think the Oilers got to score first in game 1 and win game 1. If you get behind, like you said, Rod, in any games with the type of hockey these guys play, with the trap hockey, which drives me crazy. I hate watching it. But if the Oilers win game 1, I think they're going to relieve a lot of pressure and really turn it on. If the Oilers don't win game 1, game 2 is going to be a high-stress game, and I just don't see the Oilers kind of turning on the offense and winning game 2 like, 5-1 or 4-1 or something. So, but they do have to split, like you guys said. I don't know. I see the Oilers taking this, again, myself, I see the Oilers taking this in 6 games. That's me. Yeah, I see the Oilers taking this in 6 games. But like you said, very, very important that we split the opening 2 games there in LA. So
we need to start the games with a lead. Because when
that's it. They can't play the trap once we have the lead. You can't, especially in the playoffs. So
we need to score on that power play. We need to get our power play clicking again. That's important, and that's where again the X factor Bouchard.
The power play last year against the Kings was absolutely on fire. Like they absolutely lit them
I think it was like about 50% or so. Yeah. Like it was unbelievable. And if we can get back our penalty kill from last year, man, it was crazy last year, the penalty kill.
And Skinner's best series in all the series was against LA, in my opinion. He got a shutout. Remember, we got a 1-0 shutout win against the Kings, right? So, I mean, that's the kind of tight hockey that we're going to play. Like you guys said, the Kings are going to be motivated to get some revenge on the Oilers for the last 3 years. But, Terry, honestly, healthy Draisaitl, healthy McDavid.
And after watching the video on the EdmontonOilers.com, again, I think this was all kind of a ruse from the Oilers. Not necessarily a ruse, but they know they were done with the regular season. Let's rest up the players. You even see this in Florida as well. Florida played a lot of hockey the past 3 years. I mean, they made it to the finals 2 years ago. They won the Stanley Cup last year. Yep. So you even seen that as well, right? They teetered off. They started to rest their players, injuries, and all of that kind of stuff. I think the Oilers are fully healthy at home, and I think you're going to see an absolutely, different team than you did obviously near the end of the season here in the playoffs. McDavid, you cannot count against McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, if the Oilers are like come out of the gate flying and basically show everybody like we've just been waiting all season to get to this point, I wouldn't rule out a sweep myself, but that LA Kings home record is just so good that you can't disqualify that as luck, right? So I mean, it's probably gonna go 6 games, maybe even 7. We'll see. It's gonna be stressful. We're trying to get mentally ready for this. It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of pressure, but hopefully the boys do it, and we get to do another one of these previews for round 2.
Oh,
So that's pretty much going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.
for sure.
Otherwise, that's going to do it for today's episode. Get your car flags ready. Put your good luck charms on around your house. And let's go, Oilers. Let's go, Oilers.
Go Oilers. Thanks for having
All
us.
right,
Rich.
boys. Thanks so much for doing this. And we'll see what happens after game 1.
Look forward to it.
All right, boys.
Take care,
Take it
boys. See
easy.
you soon.
And most importantly, go Oilers, go.
Frozen or hockey, the channel you need. Oilers on the ice, unstoppable speed. Chasing the cup, we're gonna succeed. With David leading, we're built to exceed.
Frozen or hockey, moving or hockey.